mean, I know they were smoking and for sure, but other than that, like that was
And was
the bedroom
smoking
I
allowed in
believe
your
he was
home?
in.
Was smoking allowed in that home?
No.
So another rule broken. This is what piece of furniture is this?
This is a nightstand. So this is like next to the bed that he was in, the room that he was in.
So this was the room he was in.
Yes. And I mean, I kind of could tell because I know my house, but I also, when I was like looking him up, I saw that he was doing live streams in bed.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's definitely the room he was in. But I think it was like, because when I was looking him up, it was like, you know, the first night that he was doing it, because it was Saturday night when I was looking him up. So he was doing it Friday night, I'm assuming, in bed. Yeah. So that's how I knew he was in that room. It was like
and that's like some kind of oil stain that's soaked under the laminate, right? That's not repairable. You literally have to refinish, like repaint it or something, prime it.
Yeah, like that's wood. So I don't know what he was doing. I think he's eating in bed, because if you look at the sheets, they're even grosser.
Is this the same room here?
Yeah, that's the same room.
Yeah. Okay, and then is this
that's that? Yeah, that's the same room.
This.
Yeah.
And what area is this? Was this a sofa?
Oh, I think this is a couch. Yeah. It looks like a burn mark. So I don't know if they were like smoking or.
Oh, Lord. I thought that was maybe no, either way, it's still bad because it wouldn't be easy to clean that. But if it's burned, you can't do anything. That's crazy. Without further ado, I want to welcome our special guest for today. Her name is Iwe. And hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm just reading the comments. I love your community. You're so funny.
Y'all calm down. We got company.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you for reaching out to me. And I want to thank you also for sharing your story and helping to expose what's really happening behind the scenes with Darius, because he tends to do the antics that he's attempted with you, and then people kind of back off because who wants all that, drama and all of those things. But the thing that's very important is it's important to share these stories so that it can prevent other people from being victimized like you were, because you didn't know these things were happening until it was way too late.
Yeah. And like the thing that I have a problem with him is that if you make a mess, like if you do something wrong, then you need to like own up to it, and whether that is like, I wouldn't have a problem if he just did whatever he did, made a mess, cleaned up the mess, and left. I wouldn't have known if I didn't get calls from the neighbors that he was telling people to park on the grass. I wouldn't have known if we didn't go over there and see everything he was doing. But if he just like paid up, you just pay and do whatever you're supposed to do, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But he didn't. So, and that's what I have a problem with.
So can you give us a little bit of your background, a little overview of your experience with being a short-term rental host of Airbnbs or VRBOs or whatever other platforms you use?
So I've been doing this professionally since 2019. And I am a super host on Airbnb and like a premier host on VRBO. All my properties are more on the premium side because we just really care about the guests and we want the house to be really comfortable when people come stay. But we have like really good reviews everywhere. And so I've been doing it for a while. I would have to say there's other things I have seen, but he's somebody where I wanted to call out because it's not just a one person who's doing it locally. He's like going to other cities, other people's houses doing the same thing multiple years in a row, which I found out apparently he has this long list of cities that he was on some tour that he was doing. And I was like, anybody else needs to know, because he's not using his real name. He's not being upfront with what he's doing. And he's just hoping that he can get away with it.
And then by the time people find out, it's too late because it was short term and he's gone and moving on to
Well,
the
actually, when I found out, I wanted him to leave, and he
mm-hmm,
wouldn't give me his information because I told his Crystal. I don't know if that's
mm-hmm.
his, she calls herself his assistant.
That's actually his best friend.
Okay, so she was the person I had info on because he, and I don't know, I asked her for his info because I was like, you're obviously not relaying information to him, or he's not getting the message or whatever. So let me talk directly to him. And he said, no, well, you know, there's that video I sent you where he says, no, I'm doing my event. I don't have time to give you my number, basically.
Yeah. So let's just for the audience sake, 'cause some people weren't with us last night when I kind of gave an overview of your situation. So can we start at the beginning and kind of work our way through the timeline with Darius Cooks and Crystal? Well, I should say Darius Hollis is the name he gave you.
Yeah, that's his name.
But could you describe your first interaction with, I think Crystal was the first person you ever, no, Darius, I'm sorry, was the
No,
first.
Darius. So he sends me a message on VRBO. I think it was September 4 when I was looking through messages under Darius Hollis. And let me pull up what he said so I don't like misquote. But basically, he says he's like a cookbook author. He
I
wants
have it
to
actually.
host.
You can go ahead. I'm gonna pull it up as well on the screen.
Okay. And he has he's a cookbook author, and he's hosting a dinner for his cookbook or something related to his cookbook. And he's gonna bring everything himself, and he's gonna have a professional cleaning crew to do everything. And it's only for 20 people. They start at 7, they'll be done by 9. So I took that as he's gonna do one dinner because it says a tasting, and it's only going to be from 7 to 9:30. There's going to be 20 people, and they're basically going to leave. And because I have like a 2-night minimum, I assume he just booked it because that was a minimum. You know, that was the cost of him doing his business. Because there are people that book, sometimes just to stay one night because of the 2-night minimum. And so I said, okay, so let me look this guy up because he says he's a cookbook author, you know? So I went on Google and I typed in Darius Hollis cookbook, and it was like nothing. It was like Dylan Hollis something. And I was like, what is this guy? Like, I don't see anything. Like even if you look on Google now, it's like Dylan Hollis baking yesteryear recipes. And I was like, why is he? I mean, it just didn't match up. But I was like, well, it sounds fine. You know, it sounds okay. And I usually like to give people the benefit of the doubt. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll allow it. But because you have 20 people, I said, you cannot park outside of the driveway. You know, there's neighbors. Like, you can't just park wherever you want. You can park in the garage, you can park in the driveway. I mean, that's basically the parking spots. And he didn't respond. And then I just get this booking reservation from Crystal. And it says, okay, you talked to my boss. This is like per your conversation with my boss, Darius, or something. And I was like, this is really weird, but whatever. And then I noticed she has like all these negative reviews. But before I saw that, like their payment didn't go through. So I had to deal with that at the beginning.
Wait, did you say the payment didn't go through?
Yeah, I don't remember why it didn't go through, but eventually I called her. She was like very cooperative. So I was like, okay, this Crystal lady checks out because, you know, I make people sign a rental agreement. You need to give me your ID. So I make sure it's not some fraudulent payment. So she sent me her ID. She like talked on the phone. She seemed normal. And I was like, okay, well, hopefully this is nothing, you know, like I have no reason to think that anything was wrong. And then the day of the event happened, and she was like, okay, can they go in early? And I was like, yeah, you can go in like 2 hours early. But then they show up, and like our code is time based. So you can't just come in whenever. It's like whenever your check-in time, you can go in. So he just like goes in through the garage and just bypasses our check-in thing. So I told her, I was like, hey, they can't just be checking in whenever they want. And she was like, I'm sorry, like, just sent me an invoice for the early check-in fee. So I let that go. And I told her, yeah, we just charged you already for that. And then I didn't have any issues. So he checked in Thursday, whatever he was doing. It was kind of weird, but he didn't seem to, believe rules applied to him when he just checked in whatever he want. So my partner was like, that's not a good sign. But I was like, we'll see how this weekend goes. And then I didn't hear anything Friday. Saturday was when I got the angry neighbor calls. So Saturday, the neighbors were calling me. They were like pissed at me. They're like, there's people parking all over my yard. The guests are asking me, or they're asking me, where do I park? And I told them, I don't care where you park, just don't park on my yard. And she was telling me that they were parking on her grass or parking everywhere. And she was like, I've just had enough. It's been going on. Like, I was like, really? Because he told me it was just in the evening, like when it happened. And she was like, no, this was all day. Like, that's when I figured I started looking this guy up. I was like, who is this? Like, what are they doing? And then that's when I found out this Darius Cooks thing. Because I was like, what is going on? So then I called my partner. I was like, okay, you have to get over there because I was not in town at that weekend. And I was like, you got to get over there. So he ordered his pizza and he was like, okay, I'm just going to head straight there. It was like almost 7. It was probably like 6:45-ish when he got there. And I told him, I was like, you need to tell them that if they need to move the cars, first of all, and not piss off the neighbors, because they can't be parking on other people's yards. Like they should have planned this in advance. Like if you know you're going to have like 20 people, then they need to have parking, or like some driver that's just going to drive them, or tell them where to park and Uber or whatever. But anyway, he got there and he knocked on the door. Some guy answered and he says, hey, I want to talk to Darius, or are you Darius? And then he told me he started to say that he wasn't there. And I was like, that's definitely a lie. But then he said, yeah, I think he thought better about that, because then he went and said, I'm going to go inside and get him. And Jared was like, yeah, that's a good idea. So he went and got him. And then they were talking. I don't know the conversation because I wasn't on the phone at that time. But he was not being disrespectful at all. And then I basically told him that fine, they can have the event. But initially when I told Crystal when I was on the phone is like, hey, you need to get these people to leave. Or if you can't follow my rules, you guys have to leave. Like, you need to leave tonight. Whatever you have tomorrow, I don't care. You guys need to leave. And she was like, well, he's not going to be very happy about that. And I was like, well, just give me his phone number. I'll talk to him. Because I have no problem kicking anybody out if they don't tell me the truth in the beginning and then cause me a bunch of issues, where I am having issues with the neighbors and he's having all these problems that day. And so when he wouldn't give me his number, because then I asked my partner, I was like, tell him to call me. And he was like, not interested in doing that. And I was like, why don't you just put me on speaker and I'll talk to him. And so there was a video of part of that conversation.
Yeah, I have that. We'll play that towards the end. Yeah.
Yeah. So where I asked him, I said, hey, can you give me your contact info? Because I need to reach you directly since you're the person at the house. Like, Crystal's not at the house. She said it was her birthday. So she was not there. I was like, I need to have contact info of somebody who is there so I can have direct contact with you on what's going on, or if you need to go do something, you do it instead of passing through third parties who are not even there. And I'm going
to play that piece now, since that applies to what you're talking about. I'm going to play just that piece of the video that you gave me.
Okay.
I don't have a phone that works in my hand, because if you can imagine.
So for the audience, so you're clear, this is the conversation that Iwe is talking about. Her partner has come to the house, confronting Darius because the neighbors have been calling about the cars parked all on the grass, and them bothering the neighbors to say, hey, where do we park? Because Darius Cooks is not handling any of that. And now Darius Cooks is speaking. We can't see Darius, I think, is right at the very bottom.
Yeah, he's the black legs. I think that's his black pants. Yeah.
And I think his videographer might be the guy standing there on the porch. But here,
okay.
that's what's happening here.
Okay.
Right now, I don't have a phone that works in my hand, because if you can imagine, if this starts at 7 o'clock, you can kind of imagine exactly what I'm doing right now. So grabbing my cell phone and take a number down, I just can't do it. But if you would communicate in the VRBO app, Crystal and myself will ensure whatever you communicate gets disseminated properly. Yeah, neither am I. I'm not either.
So that's the clip, and you guys know that Ring will only record in like 30-second clips. So that's that piece that the Ring camera happened to catch. But Iwe, you can continue.
Right. So I talked to him, and obviously I initially wanted him to leave, but I was like, fine, I'll let it go now. And then so he wouldn't give me his contact info. And so I was like, you guys need to move the car, like, immediately. That's the immediate action you need to take right now. And so then that's when I got off the phone, but I'm pretty sure, or I got off the speaker with him, but my partner was still on the phone, and I was just listening in to what he was doing. And I told him, do not leave until the cars get moved. So he waited there until all the cars got moved. And it was this big commotion because people were asking, why can't they park? Where can they park? Can they park in this road? I mean, the thing about the house is, like, it's kind of on a bigger road. So there's no street parking. So, like, if you park on the street, you're parking in the middle of the road. So they were asking, like, okay, where do I park? And all these things. So, and he was just saying, like, I don't know where to park. I don't know. He was just saying, like, he's basically like, you guys are on your own finding parking. That's what he basically told his guests. That's how I took it. And then we gave him options. I was like, you can park at the Target if you want to park down there, wherever you guys want to park. Like, it's not our problem. You know, he should have basically told them or planned that in advance. So eventually he parks, and then he tells me, well, we're actually leaving Monday because I guess they got their dates wrong. So they left a day early. And then we went in and took a look, and before he left, I always send a message that says, here's all the things you need to do. And because I knew they were leaving early, I specifically told them, do not leave trash, because I know they're gonna have a bunch of trash from so many people there. So I was like, do not leave any trash, do not leave anything damaged. Like, we're going to be inspecting for sure. And then if there's any damages, it's going to go against the security deposit. And I made that very clear to them. They signed the rental agreement that made that very clear before they even check in. And
so let's go over those pictures, a few that I have, and then we'll go to what comes after when you've inspected. And this is what some of for the audience. She sent me many more pictures than this, but I sent the ones that best work for, video purposes, and y'all can tell what's happening. So can you tell us what's happening? Oh, let me do this one so it won't cover us up. Can you tell me what's happening? That's the bathtub.
Yeah, I guess they just threw everything in the bathtub. I mean, from what he commented on my Facebook post, I didn't even post this picture yet. He just, like, told on himself. He was like, we always throw everything in the bathtub. And I'm like, okay, well, that's definitely not where I told you to leave your towels. But yeah, I guess he's just doing whatever he wants to do.
Right.
There's so many things that the pictures can't see because, like, you can't capture. But I don't have videos of the walkthrough either. But when it was walked through, I mean, it was like grease everywhere. It was like food in places there shouldn't be food. I mean, it was like inside cabinets, like inside. I mean, it was just like everywhere, all over the sheets, like the bed that he slept on. I mean, I don't know. He was like eating bed.
Okay, so I have those pictures as well. So let me go in order of these pictures. But I did want to say, I was telling the audience yesterday, I've stayed at many, short-term rentals, Airbnbs, VRBOs, and there's always the housekeeping chore list for when you're checking out. And as long as you abide by that, you don't have I've never had anyone come after me for a security deposit, but it's things like put the towels in the washer, maybe even start it. Some people want you to just leave it in there. Some want you to start it. So what was your instructions for the towels, for instance? What made this an issue?
So typically we ask the guests to start a load of towels, but I don't penalize them if they don't, because, you know, some people don't. I mean, we appreciate it if they do, because it helps the cleaners a lot. Because there's, you know, so many beds and the washers and dryers takes so long. So it helps it helps the cleaner, but we don't penalize them if they don't do that, because, you know, sometimes people are in a rush and they leave and they forget and whatever. It's just accumulation of everything, you know. It's like closet doors were like out of, I don't know how they got out. It's like all these things
out of alignment. I saw that
apart.
picture. Yeah. Well, let's start looking at
cleaning everywhere. I mean, it was just like a bunch of stuff.
So let's start looking at like this. I think is a chip on a casing of a doorway. Maybe, is that what this is?
Yeah, there's like a lot more. It's like all paint chips.
Yeah.
We have
also
all sorts of furniture. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. They're like running into the walls. I have no idea what they are doing.
I don't know how well. Can you see these pictures well at all?
Yeah, they're taken on a phone, so they're not like super nice. Okay. But
and here in the kitchen looks like maybe the valance where the blinds are has come down. We don't know if the bracket is broke up there, but I know that from watching these past experiences, they let the blinds all the way up when they have these events so people can see in. And obviously they probably were too rough with the blinds and make the valance come off.
Yeah, it was just so like the chairs, like all our chairs are from Serena and Lily. And if you're not familiar with their brands, I mean, their chairs are like $350 each. And I just liked it for the style of this house, but they just like tore it apart. I don't even know how you do that.
Right.
Like they got caught on there. I mean, they're just obviously not careful, but
probably sitting things on the chairs that shouldn't have been set on them, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I know they were smoking and for sure, but other than that, like that was.
And was smoking allowed in your home? Was smoking allowed in that home?
No.
So another rule broken. This is what piece of furniture is this?
This is a nightstand. So this is like next to the bed that he was in, the room that he was in.
So this was the room he was in.
Yes. And I mean, I kind of could tell because I know my house, but I also, when I was like looking him up, I saw that he was doing live streams in bed.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's definitely the room he was in. But I think it was like, because when I was looking him up, it was like, you know, the first night that he was doing it, because it was Saturday night when I was looking him up. So he was doing it Friday night, I'm assuming, in bed. And yeah, so that's how I knew he was in that room. It was like
and that's like some kind of oil stain that's soaked under the laminate, right? That's not repairable. You literally have to refinish, like repaint it or something, prime it.
Yeah, like that's wood. So I don't know what he was doing. I think he's eating in bed, because if you look at the sheets, they're even grosser.
So let me try to skip down to those sheets. I just don't know which. Okay, here they're next. I don't know which sheets
you like slept in that. I don't know. I can't.
Is this the same room here?
Yeah, that's the same room.
Yeah. Okay, and then is this
that's that? Yeah, that's the same room.
This?
Yeah.
And what area is this? Was this a sofa?
Oh, I think this is a couch. Yeah, it looks like a burn mark. So I don't know if they were like smoking or.
Oh Lord, I thought that was maybe no. Either way, it's still bad because it wouldn't be easy to clean that. But if it's burned, you can't do anything. That's crazy. This is what a soil towel,
like a stain towel. I mean, typically, if somebody stains a few towels, I'm not going to do anything. But if you stain all the towels, all the sheets, everything is a mess. Like, I'm going to have to do something, because like it's just too much. That's just not normal wear and tear. You know, like I understand sometimes if you like, the most common stains we get are like makeup stains on a towel or something like that. But if you're just staining everything everywhere with grease, knocking things down, breaking things, like that's just too, and not clean up after yourself. Like if you cleaned everything, I wouldn't have done anything, you know, like you made an effort and you try to clean everything. But if you don't do anything, then you need to pay for it. You can't just like not clean, not pay for it. And then when I charge you for it, dispute the charge and say it was fraudulent.
So that's the other thing.
what pissed me
Just
off.
before we move on from this, this last picture, what is this of?
That's also a bed. That's sheets.
Okay. Was it a room he was in or a different room?
That looks like a different room.
Okay. Okay. So speaking of the security deposit, so your thing has been this entire time, okay, it happened. Let's move on with life. Just give me the security deposit so that I can take care of the repairs, because you did not provide the professional cleaners, as you said. But in addition, some of the damage that he caused, professional cleaners cannot fix. That's not
Yeah.
in their
We're gonna have
work.
to replace some stuff.
Exactly. So your whole thing has been the entire time, just give me my security deposit, which was $1,000, which honestly does not fully take care of financially the cost that it's going to cost you for all those things you just showed us. That's more than $1,000 worth of damage. I used to work in construction, so I'm very aware of that. So, but that's all you're just like, give him $1,000 and I move on with life. I don't bring it up.
Right. Yeah.
So
like I'll chalk it up to a lesson that I let some guy do this. Because
so what happened with your $1,000 security deposit? Did you ever get it? Did he ever even
told it? Yeah, so we have their card on file. So when I told Crystal, I said, Crystal, we're charging this against the security deposit. Here's all the pictures. She acknowledged she received them because she says she's reviewing them with her team. And then she says he's going to dispute some of this. So to me, I guess she's hinting that they're just going to dispute or whatever. So I didn't pay attention to any disputes until like recently. I was like, how did I miss this? But basically they disputed it and said it was a fraudulent, according to the bank, it was a fraudulent charge. They canceled the card. They said they never made this transaction, whatever. And that's just how they are dealing with this. To me, I feel like it's very fair. It's not like I'm asking you to pay $10,000. You know, it's like $1,000. It's much less of what you have paid if you went to Event Space. And it's not like I'm, cheating you out of your money, whatever. I would have let it go if he just paid the money and be done with it. Because even like at other places, like if you fuck something up, you got to pay for it. Like even the hotel's going to charge you. Like, or if you go get a rental car, like my analogy earlier, like if you go get a rental car, you don't fill up the gas and you leave it for somebody else to fill up the gas, they're going to charge you. They're not going to charge you $3 that what's at the pump. They're going to charge you like $8, whatever it is. So you can do it yourself. So it's like, if you did something, you need to own up to it, and you need to like basically do take the consequences of whatever you did and not think that you can just get away with things. And maybe he thought he got away with it because 2 months later, here I am. I got a problem with that.
And he's used to getting away with it. Like I said, you're not the first. You're one of the first to speak out at this level. And we do greatly appreciate it. So when he says he went to his live IG lives, as I called it, and he went saying, I'm asking a question. He went saying, where are the pictures? Like you never sent him pictures. So at that point, when he was doing that, had you already sent this email with all the photos?
Like if you look at the date on the email, it was like immediately when it happens, because we send everything out within 24 hours. Like I don't hold off and say, it's just whenever it was sent. When was it? So October 2. So October 2 is when it was sent. I mean, when he either Crystal never showed it to him or I don't know. I mean, Crystal said she sent it and she's sharing it with the team.
Yeah, Crystal sent it. But that's him trying to control the narrative and recreating the narrative to make it as if you never handled your side of the business. And he was saying, well, why you wait 2 months? But you're explaining because you didn't know that he had charged back. You just realized that he had charged back the security deposit and canceled his credit card and reported it as fraudulent and all of those sort of things.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice for others, hosts who are vetting? Like, what is your takeaway from this situation?
Don't do it.
Like, get out of the
If
business,
it's
don't do
sketchy,
it?
don't do it. I don't know.
Follow your
I don't
gut
know.
kind of thing?
Honestly, I kind of feel like people need to buy something from him and charge him back.
Yeah, well, they've done that as well. They have.
Well, that's probably why he's doing it now.
No, oh God, no. He started first. People are giving him his
Oh my
payback.
gosh.
Oh, he's been at this a long time. I have a question too. Some people were just curious if you're comfortable with sharing this. What's your zodiac sign? Not your birthday, but just zodiac sign.
Oh, I'm a Virgo.
Oh, someone said that. Just because of the fact that you're kind of, relentless, but you also have your receipts. Very interesting. Very interesting. So what are you planning to do next concerning this situation? If anything.
I would like for him to pay. Like,
Mhm.
honestly. I think he needs to pay, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, probably you would have to take him to small claims court, and it's kind of like, do you want to be bothered with doing all of that? But
I also want other people to know. I think he has events in Austin coming up. He has events in Huntsville. I actually grew up in Huntsville, so I don't know where he's having the dinner or whatever. But I think whoever is there needs to cancel him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know who he booked those under. I don't know if he books it under Crystal. It seems like Crystal's a trend. I mean, she's got 27 bad reviews. So I feel like Crystal's the one doing the booking. So maybe that should be the post. Like, figure out where Crystal's saying next and make sure it gets canceled.
And that's one of the reasons he actually doesn't even share the location of, besides the city. He doesn't share the location even with the guests who have purchased tickets until the day of, a few hours before.
Really?
And yes, I know. Look at you. You're also like us. Like, who?
Yeah, I'm like, this guy is going like beyond to scheme and disguise things. I mean, why would you call yourself Darius Hollis? Like, why would you give yourself a fake name if you have nothing to hide? Like, that's my other problem with them. Is like, why do you have to disguise and scheme everything? Like, why can't you? I'm just a super direct person or something, but I'm like, why? You just need to be open about it. Like, this is what I'm going to do. Do you allow me to do it? If not, move on and find somebody else. I mean, there are people that will do it. You just got to pay. And if you're going to be charging people, apparently 40 people, I don't know how many tickets he sells, but it's, I think they were saying it's like 40 people, even though he's telling me 20.
Yeah, it was
at $300 each.
His seatings are usually 30 per dinner. And they pay $289 per person. Well, and sometimes they'll go on sale, but the full price is $289 per person.
Okay, so 289 times 40 people is like 11,500, and he did 2 seatings in Cincinnati. So it's like, if you're doing that, like, you can pay a little extra. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to hide and disguise. It's like he knows that he's gonna get like
discovered
found out.
Yes. Well, there were people actually, because the way that he hosts the events are also illegal because he sells alcohol, and so certain municipalities he serves alcohol and they're paying for tickets. So technically, he's serving alcohol, and in many municipalities that's against the rules. So people have in the past like reported him to. And he doesn't have like safe serve, food handling licenses. He does all of this so that he can do it, behind the scenes, undercover.
So he can make more money, basically.
Exactly, make more money. And he doesn't, as you even mentioned, does not like to follow rules. That's truly in a part of his character. He does not like to follow rules. So for him to go through a commercial event space, which would simplify all this that he just went through, it would require him to abide by rules, and he does not like to at all.
Yeah, he sounded like that when he was confronted. Like, like there's nothing, he's in the right always. But the other thing I had a thought of is like, okay, if Crystal is saying, oh, the cleaner comes in between tastings, but obviously I don't see anybody coming in to clean with cleaning supplies. So I don't know how these people are eating. They're eating all like dirty stuff.
Yeah, they also misled you in the sense of talking about professional cleaners. So what he does is when he goes from state to state, he'll put an ad out in on Craigslist
Yeah.
for a cleaner, but the person is really only there to wash dishes and they come, I think, the last day. Well, I think they do come after each meal, but they're coming to wash the dishes.
Yeah.
And then on the last day, they break down all of his rental chairs and things like that. Oh, and it reminds me, the rest of this video, let me play this so you can describe what's happening for our
it's just
audience.
all the trash. It's just a bunch of trash that he left behind. I told him to set the trash out to the curb. But I think that's his rental stuff, because apparently somebody came and took it away after a while. But
that's what I was wondering. So they left that. When they left, they just left all of that stuff.
They left all that like outside. All the trash in that corner we had to go pick out, because I think he just left, like, he's just left it outside there. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if I think he set it next to the trash can, because we have the trash cans out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd bring everything over, consolidate, and then when we take the trash out. So he didn't take the trash out like what I asked him to do too.
Wow. Well, do you have any final words for Darius? I call him Darius Cooks. That's his moniker he's developed over time.
I'm like surprised. There's so many people that have stories about him, that he has so many dedicated things. I did not know he had such dedicated thing until I started Googling this guy. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy that he does this. But I mean, to me, I just think he's not honest. He doesn't care about his reputation, obviously. And maybe he's like, what Donald Trump says, it's bad publicity is better than no publicity. I have no idea. But absolutely. He is just not somebody I would work. I do not understand anybody who want to work for him, who is doing this to him, like associated with him, really.
There are people who follow him on social media daily and enjoy those live streams that you saw him on, and they will come and attack anyone who speaks out and tells their truth. Like you telling your true story, and I've told mine, and we get attacked. How dare you talk about him? He's perfect. Parasocial relationships. It's very interesting in these.
It's very weird. I mean, I guess there must be a lot of people, because he's selling these events and people are going. But
he has a core. He has definitely a core group of dedicated people. It's not the millions that he touts on his social media pages, but it's a few tens of thousands, maybe 10,000 plus that are loyal enough that he literally just kind of takes their money. They're the ones who buy the cookware and all of that, and then the people who are unsuspecting and start following him, but they aren't aware of this piece yet. But he's been in Forbes magazine. He's been in Black Enterprise magazine for scamming, for people covering his scamming. Yes. There's been a lot of coverage.
I mean, I think somebody posted on Facebook or to one of my comments saying like, oh, I think there's nothing wrong with him in doing people's houses. Like, I like the environment of that. And I was like, great, do it at your own freaking house. Don't do it at my house. Don't do it at other people's houses. Like, go host your own parties at your own house.
And the truth is, had he respected your rules and not destroyed your home, I wouldn't know you. We wouldn't be having this conversation. Nothing. It just, you would have went on to your next guest. Yeah, you would have went on to your next guest. So he put you in this position.
Because I just can't stand for somebody like him. And I just want people to know, if anybody else in Austin or Huntsville or future cities, because I have a Facebook group for our city here, I would let people know. If he's planning on doing another one in Cincinnati, maybe he won't do another one in Cincinnati anymore. I don't know. But if he does, I'll do whatever I can to make sure it gets canceled.
Well, I will say, just a little heads up, he is supposedly ending this part of his business scams after this, at the end of this year. He has, 2 more cities? He's in some city now. He has 2 more left. And then he's done with this particular grift, but then he's supposed to be starting a partnership with 2 other social media influencers. Supposedly they're supposed to be doing event spaces, but I don't know. But for years, this has been slowly coming down on him heavier and heavier, where it's harder for him to get away with this because he's done so much damage in the past to multiple owners in multiple cities that now he's getting out of this business. This grift is over for him. So
well, because it
not
doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I've told him that myself on
Mhm.
VRBO and Crystal. And I said, you need to do this at an event space. This is why short-term rentals are getting banned everywhere, because you are parking everywhere. You're having tons of people over and the neighbors hate it. And you can't just disrespect the neighbors, you know, like it's where they live.
Mhm.
Like it's not normal to have this kind of thing. So it needs to, I mean, I think it should be stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. He's stopping it, just not for the right reason. He's stopping it because he's not making the kind of money he was making at first. But
Oh, okay.
whatever works, whatever works to stop creating, new survivors from his antics, I'm happy with it. So
Yeah.
but do you have any final thoughts? I thank you for coming and sharing your story for sure.
No, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So you take care. And let me see. Were you open to any questions? If the audience had any questions?
Yeah, if they have any questions.
Okay. Let me see if there are any that apply. See, I saw someone. I saw it in the live
Did
chat.
I report people to VRBO? I did not, but I could.
And did you? I guess I would ask, why didn't you call the police on them?
So if I call the police on them, they would need to leave.
Okay.
So I could have, but I personally wasn't there. My partner is too nice. If I personally were there, they would be leaving. So he should be glad I was not there. Yeah. But my partner is very nice, so he did not want to cause a scene. And yeah.
They have been put out of homes before. Dallas is the one that comes to mind, but I think it was one or two more. But in Dallas, they were actually put out, and that made the news.
Oh, okay.
And this person is asking, how did you find his true identity? I know this answer, but I'm not sure if we shared it today.
I Googled, I said Darius Cincinnati, because like something had to like he's doing these events, like something has to like be somewhere. So then that's when I found the tickets, the Darius Cooks tickets. And then I started like looking him up. So that's kind of how I like followed and found out who he was. And that's when I realized he was doing the 2 tastings, which made me, or 2 seatings, whatever, which made sense what the neighbor was telling me, that there were a bunch of people coming, because she was like, it's not just now that they're parking all over. It was like lunch, or it was all day is what they said. So then that's when I realized that so it kind of made sense to me then. And then I was like going through his Facebook to see like, okay, is this the same person? So that's when I came across his live stream in the bedroom. So I was like, okay, like that's definitely my house, but yeah.
Let's see.
That's how I knew who he was.
Interesting. I think that's those are, I think, all the questions that technically apply. But people are really requesting that you report them to VRBO. I think that would be a good way to prevent, future rentals if they go through VRBO for sure. Just to report and make sure it's on record. Because the truth is, they'll probably continue on some level, even if he's not doing the regular dinner events. They do go stay in different cities and all of that. And again, you're not the first person. You've probably been the most vocal thus far.
Yeah, I was surprised that no other hosts have said anything. I do know that it happened previously in Cincinnati, which is the 10,000. Because when I watched a TikTok, I think she was talking about Cincinnati. So that must have been a different year at a different place in Cincinnati. But yeah, I mean, I think the fact that he tried to disguise his name so people couldn't look him up means that there was something.
Yeah. And he knows for a fact that when people look him up, literally when you Google him, if you put in his full name, after the first 2 or 3 web pages, then you start to
Mhm.
see the articles on him and Scammer and Darius Cooks and all of those sort of
Yeah,
things. It takes
yeah.
you down the rabbit hole real quick.
And then the other thing that made me mad too is, I mean, I'm not in love with Cincinnati, but if I were here and people were paying for events that I was doing, I would not be going on my Facebook and calling Cincinnati Cincy nasty or whatever he was
Yeah.
saying, because he was saying all the food here was nasty, which I know you
Uh-huh.
said you were going to talk about that, but it's like you can't just go around disrespecting everybody like you're Beyonce or something. Like,
Yeah.
even Beyonce doesn't do that.
But she doesn't do that, right? So
She
that's
made way
actually,
more than him.
yeah, I have covered that before. We're not covering that tonight because, well, actually, I am going to read that article, so technically we are. But actually, that's his other grift. So he has multiple scams going on. So the current one that he's moving into, another reason he's getting away from the dining events, is that he now tours the country reviewing Black-owned restaurants, and his thing is to be negative about them, because it gets him more engagement, the outrage, he gets in papers. People are like, how dare you say this about my city? So he's literally done it in every city he's been in. Most recently was Miami, Baltimore. He, getting into it with the owners of the restaurants, because he starts to put out their personal business and attack their livelihood. And it's a whole thing. So he's not a good person. It's so many layers to this.
Okay, the moral of the story is, if this guy can make money, like, everybody should be making money.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. It's
Like,
just the way that he makes it. He's so nefarious in his endeavors. So that's the only thing I'm like, I'd rather my slow burn than to, gain it the way that he did, because it's not gonna last. It's not gonna there's no way that it will last.
Maybe
with the way
he should get audited for tax evasion.
There's been much conversation about that, and I'm sure that when the IRS and the FBI, there's conversation about there's crimes involved in over the years as well. So yeah, the postmaster, mail wire fraud. It's a lot going on. It's a lot. If you're ever bored, there's a whole rabbit hole on my channel, but it's also just on the internet as a whole. If you're into true crime type stories, you found one, a real life one.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for your time. I don't want to take up much more of your time, but I really appreciate you. And if anything else comes up, you know how to reach me. And have a great evening.
Thank you. You guys too.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Hey, popping like I'm supposed to. Watch out for the people that ain't close to. Speak a little something you could toast to. I ain't tryna hear about what you won't do.